I'm Herm Gailey. I'm here with a 3-year-old filly that you may have seen in some of our other videos, and I may have mentioned that she had a pretty serious eye issue back in the summer into the fall of 2021. She had a severe ulceration of her left eye that left a tiny little defect there, but at the time it was big, it looked progressive, and her eye was saved with the help of 3 very dedicated veterinarians, our farm vet, Dr. Catherine Geary, then Dr. Nikki Scherer down at the New Bolton Center of the University of Pennsylvania is their chief ophthalmologist, and she did specialty care down there. Actually had to go in and use an instrument to cut away the edges of the ulcer so that there'd be good clean tissue, and that was what really began the healing process. And then Dr. Ashley Taylor looked after her at a layup farm down there because she needed to have medication in her eye every 2 hours around the clock. So without the help of those folks, I don't think this filly would have 2 eyes. What we're left with is a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of management, which is okay. Daily, we give her 2 doses of hydroxyzine. It's an antihistamine. She was diagnosed with what's called allergic or eosinophilic keratitis. It's an inflammatory process in the eye that can result in ulcerations that comes from being very sensitive probably to certain plants and particularly to certain insects. So she wears a fly mask pretty much all the time during the day, both to protect from insects and also because she's a little more sun sensitive, or could be more sun sensitive. She doesn't overtly seem to be. And we also daily put 1 dose of an anti-inflammatory medication directly into her eye. We've been doing that now for almost a year. Sort of heads off the possible inflammatory process before it gets started. So what I'm just going to share today is how we go about doctoring her on a daily basis, because she's gotten pretty professional about it, and just wanted to show you how we go about that. Now, the hydroxyzine comes in a powder, which is strongly advertised as being very palatable and likely for a horse to eat it. She won't touch it. So what we do is we just put the powder in a dose syringe. I'll step up here and get it. She knows what's coming. And put a pretty small amount of water in there. You could say, well, why don't you mix more water with it? What I've found is it's easier to get this amount of water back into her mouth. No chance or little chance she would aspirate it. And it's easier to just compress it and get it out of the syringe and into the horse. But at first, she would pitch her head up and kind of resist. She's gotten to where we have a process, and I'll just share it with you. I'll ask her to raise her head because it makes it go down her gullet a little better, but she'll pick up kind of like a baby bird, open her mouth, I'll squirt it, then she'll take her head away and say, well, I didn't like it, but it's okay. And then what she knows is, and this isn't very macho, but she knows that she gets a little bit of grain as a payoff. And she has gotten progressively better about that and about doctoring her eye. Now, when we put the diclofenac anti-inflammatory ointment in her eye, a lot of those things come in a tube, and the tube has sort of a sharp tip. So the typical way you would do it is to peel her eyelid down, get that in there, and put a bead of the ointment along the lower lid. That always was a bit threatening to me because I was afraid if a horse pitched their head up, you would puncture their eye with that sharp metallic tip on the ointment tube. So I kind of came up with an alternative, which our vet has blessed, that I thought I'd show you here today. You start out with a vinyl glove, and the reason for that is twofold. One is it's clean, because obviously I've been out at the barn, my hands are not particularly clean ever. So that it's more sanitary, but beyond that, it also isolates your fingernail. It removes your fingernail from the equation, because if you do what I'm going to do and you had a sharp fingernail or the horse moved its head, you could abrade their eye. Step back a little there if you would. So I'm going to put a little bead of this diclofenac on here. And then what I do is crude but effective. I reach in here and you can see where her conjunctiva is. I go inside her eye and I just hold it there until it dissolves. And the thing that's remarkable is this little horse, when we first did that, I mean, we had to do everything. We twitched her for a while just to get her head stabilized. And then she said, okay, I get it. And she has gotten steadily easier to handle over the past year. And I think Dr. Geary put it best. She said, well, you know, the real nice ones just get nicer and the worse ones just get worse. And I think she's proven that she's a pretty pleasant little girl. So we're going to reach in here and just put that right in the corner of the eye so it's in her eye, and let it dissolve. And you can see there's a tiny little bit left there, so I'm going to put that in there. And just sort of rub it around. Now, I'm not sticking my finger forcefully into her eye. I'm just penetrating inside her eyelids, but not penetrating inside her eyeball. And you can see it just gets right in her eye. And once it's in her eye, it doesn't matter if it's a nice little bead along the lower lid or anywhere in the eye. If it's in the eye, it's going to have its effect. This is an easy, effective way to do it, and pretty low stress on the little horse. And I just thought I'd share that with you. And I tell you, I'm sort of proud of how pleasant this horse has been. You know, we worked with her and got her to where she was relaxed with this. And even after I'll do this, I'll rub her around the eyes and just say, you know, I'm not always going to be sticking my finger in my eye every time I approach you up there. And she holds no grudges. And I think we're doing her some good. And I hope you found that interesting. We'll see you next time we do a video.